things that I just love about this church is the community that we have established. I've recently noted that I come here more than my parents do, and being a 16-year-old child, that is a miracle. So just this past week at Vacation Bible School, many adults volunteered and to help preach the Word of God. And throughout the year, there are many different church events, whether it is just cleanups or social gatherings. And on this mission trip, the 26 Washichus, which is the Lakota word for white people, got thrown into a whole other community filled with about 9,000 people. On the first Sunday, when we arrived on the reservation, we went to a powwow, and we were introduced to the reservations. The powwow MC, Tony Bottelbear, said that none of the Washichus had seen an Indian before, so we shouldn't scare them, which is probably true for the most of us. But what was really special about this trip is how welcome we were into their community. From the start, we were welcomed into their social gathering, which they have about once a year. And throughout the week, members from their church, families even, came by and helped us do our work and connected with us. Father Rob, the priest on the reservation, was there from the start and was even generous enough to invite 5 of us into his house for showers after our car got a flat tire and we weren't able to take showers at the high school with the rest of the group. Gladys Hawk, a respected elder, hung out with us every night and taught us some things about the Lakota culture, like the foods they make and how it's passed on through generation. And even Tony Bobtailbear came by and in his 2-hour lecture taught us about powwows and sun dances and their significance. One of the things that touched me on this trip was that one day we went to a cookout in a park and we were hanging out with the Lakota, and a couple of young kids, aged about 5 or maybe even younger, came and started playing Frisbee with us. And now the parents just let them play it with us because they trusted us due to the work that we did and how much they've heard of us and how fast word has spread. And that was really special to me. And admittedly, we could have done more work, but we still did an insane amount of work. But the main question is, where do we go on from here? Many of the elders were pleading us to return, and a good portion of us, myself included, want to go back. In a community that's filled with poverty and commonly filled with grief, we provided a spark, a beacon of hope that they humbly recognize. If a bunch of city kids wanted to go out and help out, there's no reason that more would come out here. Spending this past week at VBS made me realize that there truly is still hope. By putting our kids in these types of programs, we teach them at an early age about God's love and sharing it throughout the world. My hope is that these kids will follow in our footsteps and truly go out into the world and help others share God's love. One of my favorite sayings is that it only takes a spark to get a fire going, and I feel that now it is true more than ever. All of us had a ton of fun on this trip, and we're going to tell our friends about it, and maybe next year we can go back with even more people. We can slowly work our way not only to improving the community here, or at Standing Rock, but at the world itself. And lastly, I want to thank all of you guys for all the support that you gave us, not only this year, the last years, and for every year to make our trips a success. And I've shared this with some of you, but we raised $1,006 through our coin jar, so both Stephen McHale and Bruce Smith have to perform a song of our choice and do an interpretive dance, which will be coordinated by Marshall Crawford. It's going to be all in front of the congregation. Sure to put out a month's warning in advance so you can go home and circle your calendars and purchase that shiny new video camera you have all been saving up for, because this is going to be really, really, really funny.
You know, they talked a lot on the reservation about respect for one's elders. I was treated as an elder, so I received this beautiful star quilt that I wore during services there to stay warm in the humidity. So I'll wear it for a moment now. I was allowed to eat first, and the kids had to serve us sometimes, and that lesson has been completely forgotten. So I think the first few months of youth group are going to be all about respecting me. I'll see how that goes. A couple of other things I wanted to say. You'll see in some of these photos up there, there's a guy who looks like Walt Whitman, and that is the priest on the reservation, Rob Schwartz. He smokes a pipe, has a great big beard. He's just a wonderful, warm-hearted man. And And he has called us a few times to talk about the Lakota response to the work we've done. And he said what we did is unprecedented in his memory there, in the way that the Lakota responded to us. They've been talking about us a lot. They've asked for us to come back. Our kids made some genuine friendships with some of the Lakota kids, and we're working on flying one of the Lakota girls out to the Bay Area to spend a few weeks with us. The kids worked extremely hard and got a lot of work done, and every night we shared meals and presentations with the Lakota. So something kind of extraordinary happened. Simon, can I have you stand up for a minute and show that cross that you're wearing? Simon is wearing a cross called a Niobrara cross, which was given to him by Tony Bobtail Bear, who is one of the elders of the Lakota tribe. Tony received that when he was confirmed in middle school over 40 years ago, and has worn it ever since. It has beadwork from Gladys Hawk, who is even more elder than Tony. So Simon, you are wearing something with great spiritual weight. And we asked Rob, should we give this back? This seems like a little much for Simon. Rob said, no, you can't give it back. That would be incredibly rude. So this, in a way, kind of obligates you. You are spiritually bonded to Tony and Gladys and the rest of us by extension. We have to keep giving back to these people. So we are talking about going back next year. There's talk about starting a kind of sisterhood relationship with a number of the churches here and the Lakota tribe. So we hope that this really is just the first spark of a much bigger fire that will burn. I also want to thank all of you for your support, and I'd love it if you could stand up and give a round of applause for the teenagers. One other thing, I'd like to have Richard Kemick and Rosie and Taylor stand up. Do we have anyone else here who was with us from another church? So, as the kids mentioned, there were 5 churches. Richard has been leading mission trips for like 72 years. 75 years, as long as, ever since King Henry VIII. Richard has been leading teenagers on mission trips. Rosie and Taylor Williams are 2 of the most energetic, perkiest, most enthusiastic teenagers there are. They're from St. Paul's, and their parents are here too. So we should recognize them as well.